Nigerian authorities and the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, have issued a joint appeal for $910 million to address an escalating humanitarian crisis in the northeastern states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. This crisis has been exacerbated by over 15 years of insurgency, widespread insecurity, and climate-related shocks. The appeal, part of the 2025 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan, was officially launched on Thursday at the UN House in Abuja. The goal of the plan is to provide life-saving assistance to approximately 3.6 million people who have been directly affected by ongoing violence and instability in the Northeast. This region has borne the brunt of Boko Haram's insurgency, which has devastated communities, displaced millions, and created a dire humanitarian landscape. Speaking during the launch, Mohammed Malik Fall, the UN resident coordinator in Nigeria, emphasized the critical need for urgent intervention. This occasion underscores our collective resolve as a community to support millions of people here in Nigeria. We have seen a spike in the number of people facing food insecurity. We have also seen a rise in children suffering from malnutrition, Fall noted. In 2024, we experienced perhaps one of the worst floods in recent memory. Humanitarian interventions are key in saving lives, but they can't be the solution for all the problems across Nigeria. What is required also is for development to step in, that we double down on peace building. The humanitarian needs in Nigeria have grown more severe due to climate shocks, such as devastating floods and worsening economic conditions. In 2024, the region experienced one of its most severe flooding disasters, displacing thousands and further straining already limited resources. Officials highlighted the importance of addressing the immediate needs of vulnerable groups, such as women, children, and people with disabilities, while also focusing on sustainable development and peace-building efforts to tackle the root causes of poverty and underdevelopment. The 2025 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan prioritizes food security, healthcare, water, and sanitation as core areas of intervention. It also seeks to address systemic issues that perpetuate cycles of poverty and underdevelopment. This multifaceted approach includes strengthening local resilience, building sustainable infrastructures, and fostering collaboration between government agencies, international organizations, and local communities. Nigeria's Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Nento Yewode, stressed the importance of shifting from a reactive to a proactive approach. The 2025 Humanitarian Response Plan prioritizes saving lives, building resilience, and adopting adaptive strategies to address evolving challenges with limited resources. This plan shifts from a reactive to a proactive approach, aiming to mitigate disasters before they occur, Yewode explained. While the focus remains on Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states, it also acknowledges growing humanitarian needs in the northwest and north-central regions. The ongoing insurgency by Boko Haram and other armed groups has resulted in widespread displacement, with millions of people forced to flee their homes. Many of these displaced individuals now live in overcrowded camps with limited access to basic necessities. The crisis has created one of the most severe humanitarian situations in Africa, with ripple effects felt across the region. One of the most pressing issues outlined in the 2025 plan is the alarming rise in food insecurity. The UN estimates that 33 million Nigerians will face food insecurity in 2025, a significant increase from 26.5 million in the previous year. Among this vulnerable population, 2.5 million children are at risk of dying from severe acute malnutrition without immediate intervention. Mohammed Malik Fall expressed grave concern about the worsening food crisis. The numbers are staggering and represent real lives, children, women, and men who are struggling to survive. Without swift and decisive action, the situation will only deteriorate further, he said. The root causes of food insecurity in northeast Nigeria are complex and multifaceted. Prolonged conflict has disrupted agricultural activities, leading to reduced food production and limited access to farmland. Additionally, Climate-related shocks such as floods and droughts have further exacerbated the situation, destroying crops and livelihoods. The economic downturn has also made it increasingly difficult for families to afford basic necessities, pushing many deeper into poverty. Zubaida Umar, Director General of Nigeria's National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, highlighted the critical need for collaboration in implementing the 2025 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan. The success of this plan lies in collaboration, synergy, and a people-centered approach. The numbers in this report represent real lives, children, women, and men, families whose resilience inspires us to act with urgency and compassion, she said. The UN and Nigerian authorities are working closely with local and international partners to mobilize resources and ensure effective implementation of the plan. However, achieving the ambitious $910 million funding target remains a significant challenge. In 2024, only 57% of the funding target was met, although this was slightly higher than the global average for humanitarian appeals. This funding gap underscores the need for increased support from donors and the international community. While immediate humanitarian interventions are essential, officials emphasize the importance of addressing the underlying causes of poverty and conflict in northeast Nigeria. This includes investing in education, healthcare, and economic opportunities to create a more stable and prosperous future for affected communities. Efforts to promote peace building and reconciliation are also critical, particularly in regions where intercommunal tensions and armed violence continue to fuel instability. Humanitarian interventions alone cannot solve the crisis, Fall said. We need to focus on long-term development and peace building to break the cycle of poverty and insecurity. This requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders, including governments, international organizations, and local communities. While Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe remain the epicenter of the crisis, officials acknowledge the growing humanitarian needs in other parts of Nigeria, particularly in the northwest and north-central regions. These areas have experienced an increase in violence from armed gangs, known locally as bandits, who have carried out attacks on villages, schools, and markets, displacing thousands and creating new challenges for humanitarian actors. Nento Yewode noted that the 2025 plan takes a holistic approach, addressing both immediate needs and long-term challenges across the country. We must adopt a comprehensive strategy that addresses the needs of all vulnerable populations, regardless of their location. This includes expanding our focus to areas outside the Northeast, where humanitarian needs are also increasing, he said. Behind the statistics and funding appeals are the stories of millions of individuals whose lives have been upended by conflict and insecurity. Women and children, in particular, bear the brunt of the crisis, facing heightened risks of violence, exploitation, and abuse. Many children have been orphaned or separated from their families, while others have been recruited by armed groups or forced into early marriages. Health services in the affected regions are also under immense strain. Many healthcare facilities have been destroyed or are operating at reduced capacity, leaving millions without access to essential medical care. The spread of diseases such as cholera and malaria further compounds the challenges, particularly in overcrowded camps for displaced persons. The launch of the 2025 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for action. The $910 million appeal represents a lifeline for millions of Nigerians who are struggling to survive in the face of overwhelming challenges. However, meeting this target will require a collective effort from governments, international organizations, and the private sector. We cannot afford to ignore the scale of the crisis, Fall said. Every dollar raised brings us closer to saving a life, providing hope, and building a better future for those in need. As the world's attention is drawn to other global crises, it is crucial not to lose sight of the humanitarian needs in Nigeria. The success of the 2025 plan will depend on sustained commitment, effective collaboration, and the willingness of the international community to act with urgency and compassion. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. N-rahim TV.